Hello there. What is going on, everybody? Dark Rey. We're going to be talking about episode 9 in this video. We're going to be talking about the most anticipated part of the trailer, the Dark Rey reveal. Rey with her lightsaber nunchuck. Who is this nunchuck wielding woman? Yes, I know it's not really a nunchuck, but I think it's the closest that we've ever gotten to a lightsaber nunchuck. And before anybody complains about this being some kind of sequel trilogy shenanigans, I want to point out that the folding nunchuck lightsaber like this has been done in Star Wars Rebels and in Star Wars The Clone Wars. It is not something new to the trilogy. It's not even something new to Disney. It was done before Disney ever even took over. So this is an old idea that they're just tapping into. However, a lot of people weren't familiar with it. But the Temple Guards, General Krell, all of these people in Clone Wars and Rebels have always had these. They're just not super common. That being said, we're going to talk about Dark Rey, some theories about what this scene means, who she is, if it's the same person, if it's actually somebody else, and all of that fun stuff, and what this might mean. I think there's some pretty cool tie-ins that are actually happening here. So also, let me remind you guys, if you are new here to the channel, I invite you to subscribe. There's a big giveaway going on right now for a $100 Amazon gift card. All you have to do to enter to win that giveaway is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos, and I will be announcing the winner to that video in the first week of September, or just after the first week of September. So make sure you click the bell for alerts, and as it gets into that first week of September, I'll inform you guys some more as to like which day specifically it's going to be. So we'll all be waiting. And if you don't win this giveaway, I have giveaways going on all the time. So basically, all the incentive in the world to hopefully you want to click that button. All right, let's go ahead and talk about Dark Rey and who she is. So I've got a couple of interesting theories here because they only show her for just a moment, and my first theory is based on this first image. Now, above me, you can see what looks like Darth Vader's helmet, as if he were looking at her. Now, some people have said that this is not Darth Vader's helmet, that maybe it's just an artifact of the light, but they had to animate all of the light, and this is a very specific frame in the trailer, so it's clearly Darth Vader's helmet. Like there's no doubt about it to me. Somebody had to have drawn that by hand on a computer and put it here, so it's not just random light refraction. And they also deliberately put her all the way over to the left side of the frame to leave all this empty space over here open for it to be visible in the shot. And so like if that wasn't meant to be Darth Vader, there's no reason not to have her in the center of the frame, especially since she's got a double-bladed saber that would take up sides on both of them. Like Darth Maul, when he did his epic double-bladed saber reveal, was in the center of the frame. The only reason to have her all the way over to the left is to make room for this dude right there. That's clearly Darth Vader. So that kind of paves the way for my first theory, and that this is Rey at some point getting consumed or possessed by the dark side. Now, there's a couple of ways that could potentially happen. It may happen in some way involving the Death Star. We kind of channel Harry Potter a little bit with the idea of Horcruxes or dark Sith spirits inhabiting objects or places. It seems like Palpatine could have a very strong tie to the wreckage of the Death Star on what looks to be Endor. It looks definitely like they may be at Endor, which also kind of makes people wonder if there's going to be Ewoks, which is kind of cool as well. But so it's certainly possible that both Vader and Palpatine kind of died there. And it brings into this whole, if there's a duality of Vader, if you have the Anakin, because the Darth Vader, the evil Darth Vader, died right there in the Death Star at the same time, or just before Palpatine died. So the evil Vader could still have a Sith spirit out there that is taking over Rey. Alternatively, it could be Palpatine, which is a little more obvious because in the trailer, Palpatine is talking, and also you hear Darth Vader's mask right before this Rey scene, so it could be either one, or could even be Palpatine somehow disguising himself as maybe Vader or somebody more familiar to Rey, maybe even as a parent. There is that whole theory that maybe, Palpatine had something to do with Rey's creation, and that's how he's able to get into her, or to penetrate her soul, or something like that. There's even talk about it like she might have a cut on her hand, and that's what that red ribbon that she was holding earlier in the trailer was, and then maybe he somehow goes in through a physical hole or whatever. There's a lot of theories, but basically theory number one is that she is possessed by some kind of dark side spirit, be it Vader or Palpatine, or even Snoke in theory, because she's wearing what looks like Snoke's ring in some of these shots. You can see it like kind of at the bottom of her hand that's down. It has what looks like a black ring on. Looks very much like Snoke's. Now, theory two is that this is just a vision. This is just one, like a force vision, kind of like we saw in episode 7, where Rey went through and had visions. You see kind of here, her face is illuminated, very much like normal Rey on the left side, and on the right, more like maybe almost like a mask, or like a skeleton or a skull, or maybe even slightly transposed Darth Vader's mask over her face. It's hard to tell, but then again, this might have been something that they modified the way it looks a little bit for the trailer. There's a lot of times where things get modified in a trailer, and then when you see it in the screen, some of the visual effects are slightly changed so that the trailer was misleading. I believe during the original Return of the Jedi trailers, they showed Luke as having a blue saber, and they didn't find out it was actually green until they were in the movie theater. So things like that, are just examples about how they've always been willing to change up stuff for a trailer. And heck, we've certainly seen that an awful lot when it comes to things like Rogue One, where there was a lot of footage that was in the trailer that never made it to the movie. So this could be something, like just a vision, or a force vision, or something like that, and maybe that will kind of change, because that whole duality of somebody being torn, this could show her that. Also, the fact that there's two blades in there, like usually when you have the folding saber, usually it's not ignited until it's spread out. So the fact that she ignited it when it was still close together, maybe that is significant here. And the fact that it's showing two like that, like those two lines, maybe that's meant to kind of point out that there's two paths she could go down, and that's symbolic of her having it lit up like that. So again, theory number 2 is that this was just a vision that she's having in the Force, and kind of like in that scene when she opens her eyes in 7, and you kind of see that red lightsaber in her eye. It's very similar to kind of like the red lightsaber in her eye here as well. Could be some kind of motivational thing, or some kind of Force vision that she's having. My theory number 3 is that, well, she's not evil at all. She's not Dark Rey. She hasn't embraced the dark side here. We don't know that she's embraced the dark side. You don't want to judge a book by its cover. Luke Skywalker wore all black in Return of the Jedi, and he certainly didn't embrace the dark side. He was perhaps tempted, and maybe she might be tempted, albeit briefly, but she hasn't certainly embraced the dark side. And just because she's holding a red lightsaber, that doesn't mean that she has embraced the dark side. I mean, she held a red lightsaber in episode 8, and she was very much a champion of the light all throughout episode 8, or at least mostly throughout episode 8. She did kind of explore that dark cave a little bit, which may have something to do with this, but my point is, her having a red lightsaber doesn't mean she's a Sith, doesn't mean she's on the dark side. Obviously, it's meant to make you think that, but then again, they do like to do misdirection with these trailers, so her holding a red lightsaber might not be an indication that she has embraced the dark side, or at least not fully. It could be just something that's being tempted, or she could be grabbing an opponent's lightsaber away from them, or maybe her lightsaber has been destroyed and she's just taking this because it's the only thing she's got available. She may end up doing a costume change, getting her black Luke Skywalker-esque kind of outfit going on, and steals this, disarms an opponent. She's like, oh, I like this. This is like the staff I've been training with. And then maybe towards the end of the film, she swaps out the kyber crystals, or she heals them and they become white or something like that. Kind of like a tribute to Ahsoka a little bit. And maybe they even go from being unstable to being stable. Now, theory 4, this is the doozy. Theory 4 is that this is not Rey. That this is either a twin. Like, we don't know if she didn't had any other siblings, because, like, granted, they've talked about her parents or whatever, but they never said that she was an only child. So it could be a twin sister, but more than likely that this is a clone. And that is very, very cool and very, very interesting. Not sure if this will come to pass, but if it does, it fits into a lot of different things. If you'll notice, I'm wearing a Chimera shirt because this is Thrawn's, design that was on his ship, and it kind of, the reason is because of Timothy Zahn's Heir to the Empire trilogy. And I'm just noticing a lot of little parallels, if she ends up being a clone, that kind of fit with the sequel trilogy and then the original Heir to the Empire trilogy. And like, one of those was the fact that Luke had to fight a clone of himself, and there was a Luke, so maybe she's Rey, basically a clone of Rey, an evil clone, because she certainly doesn't look like she's doing the normal Rey thing, and certainly an evil, crazy clone would certainly have some kind of problems and maybe embrace the dark side. That's certainly a possibility. It seems like her demeanor is different, her clothing and her jewelry are different, and her facial expressions and everything about the way she's done her makeup and everything is very, very different. So it seems like that's more than just somebody turning to the dark side. It could potentially be an entirely different character. And so if that is the case, it mirrors Heir to the Empire for that aspect. But it also kind of draws upon some of these other things. Like, we had Jorah Sabaoth, right, who is this crazy, insane, super powerful force wielder. And maybe that's kind of Snoke kind of playing the Sabaoth role. People have, rumored that maybe Thrawn will have something to do with this. I'm not convinced of that, but I mean, and I don't want to get my hopes up for something like that, but wouldn't that be cool? But also, the second book of the Heir to the Empire trilogy was all about the Katana fleet. Granted, they were dreadnoughts in that one, but here, I mean, like, when they kind of borrow concepts from legends and bring them into the new canon, there's always this whole, well, we have to make it fit and we have to make it work for a good reason. And it would make probably more sense in the current canon for if there was an abandoned fleet for it to be something maybe a little bit more recognizable. And certainly, the idea was that a single dreadnought on its own wasn't going to be a match for the current level of ships like, Imperial Star Destroyers. Well, we know that, like, the Finalizer and the First Order Star Destroyers are, significantly more powerful and also much larger than Imperial Star Destroyers. So having a fleet of ISD-1s, which are the Imperial Star Destroyer 1 version, which are like a little bit weaker than the ones that we see by the time of, like, Return of the Jedi. And you kind of tell that by that little piece on the top of their bridge section. But by having a fleet of ISD-1s, which are still strong, but maybe not a match one for the First Order, but having a whole fleet of them would be tremendous. And that really just kind of harkens back to the Heir to the Empire trilogy, which kind of makes me think, well, what if she does end up becoming a clone? And what if it is a clone? And then maybe, just maybe, Kylo Ren has to fight and kill evil Rey, which is not good Rey the clone, and that fulfills some kind of thing to get Palpatine or Snoke's ghost out from haunting Kylo Ren's mind and driving him insane. And so by actually killing her and fulfilling the last command or something like that, it actually kind of completes some kind of prophecy, has to kill Rey. Maybe he's forced to kill Rey and he doesn't want to kill Rey because, she's one of the stars of the show, so he has to kill her clone. Still counts as having killed Rey, but boom. That wouldn't surprise me too much, but then again, that'd be a really deep dive into Timothy Zahn's original Heir to the Empire trilogy. And I do think it is possible that maybe they'll consider doing something like that. But I would love to hear from you guys. What do you guys think? I think the whole concept of Dark Rey is kind of cool. I mean, or do you guys think that they won't even use any of it? That this whole thing was just to throw you off? That this entire scene will be taken out of the movie? Will it even end up in the movie? And where in the movie do you think this will be? I mean, it can't be at the very end, right? They can't end the entire Skywalker saga with a brand new villain of Dark Rey, like a super new villain. Like, you can't end it like that. So if this is going to happen, it has to be at the middle of the movie or earlier. You can't just introduce an all-new villain at the end of a 9-movie saga and expect people to be satisfied. So I have a feeling this is either something very, very small as far as the whole movie is concerned, or it will be introduced quite early. But yeah, I would be really surprised if this is like towards the end and they introduce a whole new type of villain at the very, very end of a 9-movie triple trilogy. But that's what I think. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Don't forget to click that subscribe button, click the bell for alerts. You can check out my social media in the description box below, and all those things: Twitter, Facebook, Patreon. If I want to thank my patrons, you guys definitely help make this all possible, and I want to thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, have a great day.